Hello and welcome to another episode of Brandish the Outlandish. I am your host, Brandish, the famously famished, fiendish Swedish family sandwich bandit in San Francisco. Today we're going to be discussing Noella Bergener and her ex-husband, Sweet James Bergener. Sweet or sour, depends on how you want to look at it, okay? Things have definitely soured between them because a divorce judge in Puerto Rico granted them a legal divorce this month. So only after just shy of about 14 months of being married when they legally they filed legal papers to separate. Very quick marriage and divorce proceedings. So we're going to jump into that. But first off, let's go into a little background on Noella Bergener, formerly known as Noella Nance. Okay, she's a SoCal native, born in 1985, making her only 36 years old, all right? And she's actually married before meeting Sweet James to a gentleman named Ryan Manos, and he's a real estate broker out in Palm Desert. There wasn't a whole lot to research on him, but when I looked him up, he was actually an attractive guy. I'll give him that, okay? There wasn't much on their relationship or divorce. All we know is that they do share a daughter together. We don't know their daughter's name. They're very good at keeping all that private, which is something that I actually agree with. So she actually had to sue Ryan for paternity of their daughter and to eventually prove all that. And it ended up costing her a pretty penny. She racked up a $293,000 bill, which she was recently served with legal papers from a company that supplied her with the funds. They're still trying to collect 7 years later. Okay, she met Sweet James sometime around 2015. So in the midst of all this legal battle with her first husband is when she's introduced to her second. And Sweet James is someone known around Southern California as a personal injury attorney. He has lots of commercials and billboards everywhere. And apparently he's a really nice guy because that's how he got his name. All right, I think it's a little weird. It just, there's something about Sweet James that just doesn't, especially in the legal field. I mean, it's got more. He graduated law school in 2002 and started the Bergener Law Firm in 2004. All right, again, specializing in personal injury and tort suits. At some point, he started this firm with another, or he brought on another partner. I'm going to butcher this, Bergener Milowski. Okay, that though also went sour at some point, and they dissolved. Now the firm is known as Sweet James LLP, and there's been legal suits filed on behalf of his former partners. So we'll see how that all pans out. Now, Noella's father is also actually a notable Southern California personality himself. Christopher Nance was a weatherman for NBC for 20 years down in LA, and even spent a little bit of time working for K-Pix up here in San Francisco. What's also interesting, a bit ironic here, is that Noella's mother, Nicolette, had to sue her father, Christopher, for paternity as well. So, what happened between Noella and her first husband, Ryan Manos. Even after learning that, Christopher still did not want anything to do with Noella and also wanted to pay the very minimum he could. And the judge actually only awarded Nicolette $400 a month in spousal and child support. Nicolette was thinking about going back to the courts to have that raised because it's such a ridiculously low amount. Threatened to either kill himself or have someone kill her if she did try to go back to the courts. Another interesting fact about Christopher Nance is that he spent almost 20 years at NBC, and that came to an abrupt end in the early 2000s when a young intern accused him of sexual misconduct. Never did go back into newscasting. He focused the rest of his year on his charity, which ironically was a children's foundation set up for literacy. Ironically enough, he did not have a relationship with his own daughter until about a year or two before his passing. It appears that they were able to reconcile whatever differences that they may have, any resentments that she might have carried over from childhood, because she speaks very glowingly about him in the tribute post that she ultimately put up on Instagram after his unexpected passing. Christopher also had a restraining order with an anonymous Jane Doe whom he apparently was dating, and then when the relationship went south, he was stalking and making terroristic threats, and so they had to go to court in order to get a restraining order together. So that just kind of speaks to the character of her father, Christopher Nance. Now, I find it so interesting when you have public personas that live a completely different lifestyle, and then it's compounded with the irony that he, had a children's foundation that he never read a bedtime story to his own daughter, ironically enough. Can stand that. That's what creates a rocky adulthood. Now, her mother, Nicolette, never married Christopher. The whole totally separate life that Noella was involved in. Interesting fact about that is that Norma Ortega Nance was convicted in 2003 of stealing phone equipment from her former employer, Nestle. I found on some Reddit posts that apparently Nicolette was taking old, the Nestle offices were being remodeled, and they removed old phone operator equipment. She then took that equipment, gave it to her then husband, who in turn sold it, and they kept the proceeds. Once Nestle found out about that, they sued and actually got a judgment for $3.2 million for the equipment and to serve 20 months in an LA County facility. Noella was born in Southern California, and from what I can tell, lived most of her life in the Palm Desert area, out there by Palm Springs. She became a model in the late 90s and ended up working with different fashion houses like Chanel, big magazine publications such as Elle Magazine. All right, and she ended up in the early 2000s to Istanbul, Turkey, and attended Bosphorus University, which is a very prestigious institution. Okay, she was studying political science out there, but in 2004 was asked not to come back due to her poor performance. Now, Noella met James in 2015, and again, this is a year after she had sued Ryan for the paternity in 2014 of their daughter. Okay, it looks like they dated for 5 years, and there was actually 4 different proposals throughout that time period. They eventually married in June 2020. Okay, but unfortunately, that marriage only lasted up until December of 2021, and really it started to fall apart sometime in July of 2021. From what I could tell online, the Bergeners had actually picked up and moved from Southern California. They were living in Newport and moved out to Dorado. Now, I actually lived in San Juan, in Condado, and Dorado is, it's a little bit west, okay, and there's a big resort out there, and then there's a very nice community. Dorado's a very good area, okay, and it's known to have homes of wealthy mainlanders. Now, in recent years, Puerto Rico has come out with a certain law that allows mainlanders to move there for tax sheltering purposes for income. This is that they're trying to entice wealthy individuals over to the island to create and drum up industry. However, I suspect Sweet James moved over there because he was slapped with a $5.8 million tax lien in July of 2021, so that which coincides with their move and their establishment of residency out there. Now, I'm not saying that Sweet James is doing anything illegal with this move, but like many ultra-rich individuals and or just scheming types, this does seem very suspect that in the same time frame that they're served with a huge tax lien, that they would relocate out to Puerto Rico. Now, when they were relocating, that's apparently when Noella got the call from producers over at Bravo stating that she had made it onto season 16 of Real Housewives Orange County. Viewers, hardcore fans, will note that we actually did get a glimpse of Noella in season 15 as a friend of Bronwyn's. Of course, Bronwyn and her were very close in that season, and it's rumored, from what I could dig up online, that their relationship soured when Bronwyn was released from the Orange County franchise and Noella was subsequently picked up. Okay. Back to Sweet James and Noella, though. So they were married in June of 2020. Again, they moved the family shortly thereafter, within about 6 to 8 months, out to Puerto Rico. Okay, there was plenty of Noella posting online about how excited she was to be in San Juan and moving the family out to Puerto Rico. So despite how she seems to make it out that James just bought this home, picked up, and left them in California and went to Puerto Rico with his toothbrush, the reality is that this was in the works, and this is something that she was actively involved in. So that's going to be a very interesting development to watch play out in this season, and if she's kept in subsequent seasons. Sweet James recently came out with some videos on Instagram, which prompted me to actually join Instagram. So there is an official Brandish the Outlandish Instagram. Nothing on it just yet. But I signed up specifically so I could go on and watch these 3 videos that James posted. They are interesting.
James Bergener here. I just wanted to clear up another issue. My divorce from Noella was granted December 8th here in Puerto Rico. It is so happy when she got on the show. She was ecstatic. As filming got closer and closer down a very unhealthy path, and I lost almost everything, including myself.
Guy. I mean, we were posting videos to Instagram to help your law firm's public relations.
My love for my son has never waned, or waxed, or left. I've not abandoned him since separating with Noella. I've paid nearly $100,000 in housing. I've paid over $50,000 in household goods and supplies for him. Over $15,000 in childcare.
Side note, why would you have your wife sign up for a program like the Real Housewives if you so seemingly plan to, 1, not reside in Orange County, and 2, not stay married? In the videos, James says that he feels Noella changed after filming started, which I can only imagine. I mean, everyone changes once they embark on a new endeavor and they learn new skills, or they feel and embrace a new side of themselves. So I'll give him that. That can absolutely be legitimate. However, Sweet James was never really into the relationship. I don't know why, if he just maybe felt pressure to marry her because they share a son together, or if he was truly in love and wanted to make things work, and if Noella actually really did, do a total 180 on him. So that's something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. Right now, there's not a whole lot of information out there online, even on Reddit, and that you can dig up on their relationship, because it was so brief and it was so new. What I can tell, Sweet James was a great guy. I mean, he showered her in gifts. He took her. There's plenty of shots with them on private jets, going to exotic locations, meeting with Kim Kardashian at special events. He seems like a pretty legitimate guy, and he must have some success in the courtroom. A pretty penny in the bank, especially also to rack up a $5.8 million tax lien. You have to have generated, at least $50 million. Now, these are from separate tax years, so it's not that he made $50 million in 1 year, but over the course of the time that he didn't allegedly pay his taxes. So James isn't some broke bum that's trying to fake it till he makes it. He apparently has had some success in personal injury, and each year he brings in millions of dollars for himself and his clients. So hats off to him, again, and that's what also makes it so interesting is when these legitimate people sometimes do borderline criminal activities, or their ethics seem so high in one area. Over on this end, he's filing for divorce in Puerto Rico, a jurisdiction which his wife is not claiming. And also, in a strategic move, Puerto Rican courts move much faster than California courts, and I'm sure that they are much easier on the breadwinning spouse, because in California, the breadwinning spouse really takes it. They have to pay spousal support, they have to pay attorney's fees, they have to pay child supports, all that type of stuff, especially when you're a breadwinning spouse, okay, which Sweet James was. However, he was a very smart spouse as well, and, he's an attorney. So I theorized that he was no dummy. Technically, Noella did file first for legal separation, but once he got the paperwork, some light bulbs went off in his head, and much like the people who saw Tom Girardi and Erica Jane divorcing, and then they quickly jumped on and presented their legal cases against both entities, James kind of did the same thing. That he got preemptive, and he said, you know what, I'm going to respond with a divorce in Puerto Rico, and I'm going to move forward with things here. And they are not pursuing litigation. They are in mediation, and that, a judge did grant them divorce.
My divorce from Noella was granted December 8th here in Puerto Rico.
Just working on the settlement. So let's see how everything pans out there. The whole thing is just very interesting to me. Noella, again, is kind of an enigma in the sense that she just brings nothing to the table outside of her gorgeous looks. And then you have Sweet James on the show. You don't have any footage of their son. He sued to block footage of. All of this is within the first few episodes of the franchise of season 16. Okay, so this is a couple who came onto a show already having marital issues, tax problems, okay, and who knows what else is going to come for Sweet James and his law firm, because, like I said, he's already had the Bergener firm, then Bergener Milowski, and now it's Sweet James. So is it only a matter of time before we learn of other allegations against Sweet James and his law firm? I don't know. Let's stay tuned and find out. But one thing's for sure, Noella's going to bring plenty of extra juice to this season. No doubt, we thought she was just going to be, again, a pretty face with a sex dungeon, which was more like a creepy sex office built into the half part of her third car garage or something. It's not exactly like a sexy, cool dungeon or anything. She's going to bring plenty of juice, which is what the producers want. This is an unexpected twist in the relationship. I feel bad for her, of course. I feel bad for anyone when there's kids involved because they're innocent. Ultimately, this isn't something that I watch and am going to take an immense amount of joy seeing their downfall and the dissolution of their relationship. No, by no means, actually. This is sad. However, it's just very interesting. I don't want to use the term entertaining. It's very interesting to watch because it's a couple that in their own right you wouldn't necessarily think would exist. So the fact that they even got together, Noella and Sweet James is weird, and it would have been interesting TV to watch them together. But now it's a very interesting, pull apart, and seeing how she, of course, the legal proceedings of the divorce, seeing how she will then maybe go into another relationship, because as we know of housewives, they like to stay that way. They don't get divorced and stay divorced. So we'll see who she manages to cuff. If James stays out in Puerto Rico, if he's the only one held liable for the tax problems, if he has to pay support, if Noella does win some type of good settlement, stays down in Orange County, and then gets booed up with someone super quick. And again, to see her success story, hopefully, as she rises above all this. Now, it could, of course, all implode, and then she turns out to be just another Taylor Armstrong of sorts. Kind of goes off into obscurity with another man, but that she finds that, maybe I shouldn't have all my dirty laundry aired out because this is what's already been found out. I know, there's usually more underneath the pile of stinky stuff. So we'll see. Does she embrace this newfound reality star persona, or does she kind of fade off behind the lights? So, one thing's for certain, Brandish is going to stay on it for you guys. I'm going to keep reporting, keep watching. So if you like what you're seeing here on my channel, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, check in regularly for some fun entertainment. I try to post every few days. I'm getting better at it, so please bear with me. But thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you learned something today about Noella Bergener and Sweet James and everything that's transpiring right now in the OC. All right, guys. Have a wonderful and safe New Year's Eve. All right, and I will catch you in 2022. Take care.